What is going on, you guys? It is your boy Matt Talks Films. I am back with another video. I am back with another review, and this time I'm talking about a sequel, an action sequel that I think is better than the first movie. That movie is Nobody 2, starring Bob Odenkirk, starring Connie Nielsen, starring RZA, starring Christopher Lloyd, starring Colin Hanks, and starring Sharon Stone. It's not exactly a stacked cast, but it's a good cast on paper. This movie is better than the first movie in my opinion. If you haven't seen Nobody, watch that movie first and then go see this movie so you can watch this review. But anyway, Nobody 2, a very, very good action sequel in my opinion that is better than the first movie. Here's what Nobody 2 is about. Nobody 2, following the action and consequences of the first movie, Hutch, aka Bob Odenkirk, is now in debt. He had his friend, quote unquote, and someone that he knows professionally, the barber, pay off his debt that he had to the Russians because he burned all their money due to the action and consequences of the first movie. And now he is back in business as the auditor instead of for the US government. He is now doing that for the barber. And due to that, he is now less around his family. His family doesn't see him as much, his wife misses him, and his kids don't see him at all, basically. Due to this, he wants to take a break. He wants to go on vacation. So he takes his family on vacation to a nostalgic vacation to Plummerville, a vacation he took as a kid with his father and his brother, aka Christopher Lloyd and RZA. On this vacation, he doesn't want any violence. He wants to stay away from the violence. He doesn't want any problems. It wouldn't be an action movie if he doesn't get into those problems and he doesn't have those acts of violence, because that's what this vacation calls for. It calls for violence, it calls for acts of violence, and that's what this movie is. As he is on this vacation in Plummerville, he has now found himself in some violence, protecting his family and saving his family while also saving the people he comes across in Plummerville. Plummerville is a water park and amusement park set in the city and town of Plummerville, and that's the action that unfolds in this movie. This movie is very good. It is so, I think it's not so much better than the first movie, but it is better than the first movie in my opinion. Here's my problem with the first movie, if you haven't seen it, if you want a quick synopsis. First Nobody is pretty much a ripoff of John Wick. It's written by the same guy who wrote the original John Wick. So you can see how it is a ripoff of the first John Wick. Clearly the writer of the first John Wick tried to capture the brilliance that he had in the first John Wick movie, and he tried to do it in the Nobody. Nobody was a good movie, but the main problem with that movie is it's unoriginal due to it being very, very, very similar to the first John Wick movie. However, this movie, Nobody 2, is more fresh and unique somehow. The first Nobody, despite it being unoriginal, it's very well acted by Bob Odenkirk, and the action sequences are brilliant. The action sequences in the first Nobody are some of the best action sequences of all of the 2020s. The action sequences are brilliant, including the most memorable scene in that movie to me, the bus sequence. The bus sequence in that movie is undeniably great, and it's one of the most memorable action sequences of the 2020s, and it's very admirable. It's great filmmaking, and I really adore that. The filmmaking in the first movie is so good when it comes to action films. It's admirable. It's very admirable in my opinion, and it's very memorable. That follows up in this movie. The action filmmaking is still great. The violence might even be better, and the action sequences are more consistently great in this movie. There's action sequences that take place in a water park. There's action sequences that take place in an arcade. There are action sequences that take place on a duck boat. There's everything you would want for in a movie, an action movie taking place in a water park slash amusement park. It is brilliant. Bob Odenkirk, someone who played a remarkably iconic and memorable role in Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I can see why people don't believe him in this role. That's not me. I believe him in this role. He is he's just really good in this movie as Hutch. He pulls it off somehow. He's ridiculously believable as Hutch. He is great in these action sequences, and it is a really interesting career choice that Bob Odenkirk has made as Hutch, and it's admirable. It just is. A lot of people who would have played Saul Goodman or come from a past of comedy writing like Bob Odenkirk does would have went back to comedy writing or would have done another TV show. Bob Odenkirk goes to do something different and becomes this action star as Hutch, and it pays off. He is great as Hutch, and I hope he continues to be Hutch in another movie or other movies after that, because I want a trilogy, and it's mostly due to Bob Odenkirk and his ability to pull off this role and his ability to act as well in a movie like this, considering his previous career decisions. It is so different to the other things he's done in his career. I respect it, and I'm happy for Bob Odenkirk because he is really good in this movie, and he continues to be believable as this action icon as Hutch. This movie, I mean, the family dynamics are pretty interesting. We get a dynamic between Wyatt, who is the person who runs Plummerville and runs this amusement park. He runs this amusement park. His daddy used to run it. He ended up getting killed because of his illegal doings with Sharon Stone's character, who I forget her character's name, but it's Sharon Stone's character as this video proceeds. He is now running Plummerville because of his father, and he has to continue the illegal doings and the illegal debts that his father had for Sharon Stone. So, this is his last shipment. He wants to get out of this business. He's done. Sharon Stone won't allow him to be. She has to remind him why he can't leave this business. So what does she do? I can't say, I won't spoil it, but it is very similar to Hutch's life. Hutch is in debt. He wants to get out of this debt and ultimately get out of this business when the debt is done. Him and Wyatt are mirroring situations. Despite the relationship between Wyatt and Hutch starting on rocky stone, ultimately the relationship gets better as the film goes on because they're working for the same cause and they want to ultimately get out of the business they are stuck in. And that's admirable. I think the relationship dynamic between Connie Nielsen and Hutch is very interesting. I think this movie is very honed in on the fact that Hutch is worried about the impression he is leaving on his son. He doesn't want his son to be violent and murderous like he is due to the lifestyle he grew up in. But however, he is kind of scared that due to the actions in his last movie, he is wearing off on his son, and he doesn't want his son to be as violent as him. And as this movie unfolds, you see that his son, despite being influenced by his father in some way to start this movie, he is not like his father. His actions aren't rubbing off on his son. As the film continues to unfold, you will see that it's not the case, and therefore the family lineage is soon to be broken with Hutch's son. I really enjoyed the family dynamics in this movie. They're relatable. A lot of fathers growing up don't want to have their son be like them on lesser scales in this movie, but this film is obviously an exaggerated scale because Hutch is this murderous auditor who has been murdering and erasing lives for a living for as long as he's been alive. And he's been following his father's footsteps, and now Hutch doesn't want his son to follow his footsteps. So that's admirable. And same with Wyatt's son. Wyatt's son is impressionistic. He is very influenced by his father, and Wyatt's father does not want his son to be like him. So Wyatt and Hutch are very hand-to-hand in this movie, and that dynamic is interesting. The family dynamic is interesting when it comes to Connie Nielsen, Hutch's wife. She's very lonely. She has things she wants to say to Hutch. She wants him to stop doing this business. She wants to be around him more. But due to the debt Hutch has, he doesn't want to put his family at danger. He has to continue doing this until his debt is paid off. But that dynamic is interesting because they love each other, and she understands what he's doing to protect his family. But also, she is a woman who is in love, and she wants to be loved consistently. And what Hutch is doing at this moment in time is not allowing her to be loved consistently. So the dynamics that are in place here are very interesting and very relatable. It makes for a good action movie. It makes for a very relatable one, despite the stakes and the schemes that are pulled off in this movie, but it's very interesting. Wyatt is running this town with Tom Hanks' son Colin Hanks, who's a sheriff, who's a very prototypical bad sheriff in a town that ultimately gets his justice in a very funny way at the end of this movie. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. The action sequences, the action set pieces are great. This movie continuously finds new ways to kill people in a very entertaining way. It also allows you to have these action sequences that are very unique and very refreshing and very new. The duck post sequences, the arcade sequences, the water park sequences, all those action set pieces and sequences are very unique and new to me. They're very fun. Yes, the first movie is a ripoff of the John Wick movie, but the action sequences still come off as new action sequences that aren't, rehashed sequences from the John Wick movies, which I appreciate. Despite the first movie being a ripoff of the John Wick movie, this movie is not, and this movie feels way more fresh and unique than the first movie does. And honestly, part of me while watching this movie was like, hey, maybe this movie should have been the first movie in the franchise. But obviously that's not how that works because they came up with this idea after the first movie. But maybe this franchise would have been better off if this movie was the first movie in the franchise, because the first movie is clearly a ripoff of John Wick. This one is a new and fresh take in the action genre, which I appreciate. I think Nobody 2 is better than Nobody. Christopher Lloyd, I love seeing Christopher Lloyd in 2025. Love you, brother. AKA Doc Brown, if you guys don't know, if you guys aren't cultured. RZA, if you don't know who RZA is, culture yourself. Wu-Tang forever. But anyway, RZA is awesome. He has one of the most amazing and cool scenes I've seen all year. He comes back from Japan in this movie. He helps Hutch again, as he does in the first movie. He helps him again at the end of this movie as well. He uses his samurai ways that he's learned in Japan to kill people. And there's a sequence in this movie where he uses a sword, a samurai sword, in a sword fight. And it's fucking awesome. RZA is coolness personified, and he is awesome. So the family dynamics working in this movie, the action sequences and set pieces are the best action sequences and set pieces consistently all year. Obviously, the Mission Impossible movie, the action sequences you see in that movie are some of the greatest action sequences of all time. But sadly, that movie consistently is not very good. But this movie has the best consistently and most entertaining action set pieces and sequences all year, and that is admirable, and it's great action filmmaking. This is one of the best action filmmaking performances of the year. I mean, the filmmaking on display here is great. It's one of the best action movies of the year. My problems with this movie is, one, Sharon Stone is very bad at this movie. Her villain is hacky, despite being needed, and despite her plot line being resolved pretty quickly at the end. She's just not good in this movie. Sharon Stone is very hacky, and honestly, she's too comedically written for it to be a good performance. Yes, this movie has some very good comedic qualities to it. It will make you laugh, but Sharon Stone is over the top here. She is bad. Another problem with this movie, Connie Nielsen has these one-liners that are eye-roll worthy and just bad. So, those are my two problems with the movie. Everything else I like, despite obviously your logic has to be suppressed and your realistic thinking has to be suppressed. But otherwise, I liked everything about this movie. The action filmmaking is great. The action sequences are great. The fight choreography is great. The acting is pretty good at top by Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk continues to be believable as Hutch. I enjoy that very well. I enjoy the set pieces. I enjoyed the unique setting of this movie. I enjoyed being in a water park. I enjoyed being in an amusement park for this movie. It is a very good and watchable plot. It's a relatable storyline, and there's relatable themes in this movie. This is one of my favorite action movies of the year. I rated this a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It might be too high of a rating, but hey, that's how much fun I had in the theaters, and that's how much I enjoyed this movie. 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, probably like an 80, 82 out of 100 if I had to do it that way. There will be another video today by me talking about a film that is one of the worst films of the year in Americana, starring Sydney Sweeney, Paul Walter Hauser, and Halsey. So, see me soon. This is my review of Nobody 2, a great sequel that is better than the first movie. It's one of my favorite action movies of the year. It's your boy, Matt Talks Films. I'll see you guys soon.